Okay, I don't know about you, my friends, but it feels like the world is on fire, like we're on the brink of something just very destructive. The world is, things are popping off in not just Ukraine and Russia, but in Israel and Iran. And there's rockets just fired from Yemen into Israel. And like, what is going on? All right. So let's start our three big stories focused on this. So, like we talk about Heroyam Slava, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes, right? Okay, heroes. Here's Zelensky offering awards, state awards to heroes, and to the relatives, the spouses and mother and grandchild or children of the heroes. And like, this is posthumous, right? Okay, since the beginning of the full scale war, more than 113,000 Ukrainian warriors from various branches of our defense and security forces have been awarded orders and medals, most of them specifically for participation in combat. This is only part of the heroism and resilience of Ukrainians that enable our nation to endure and defend our own interests, says Zelensky, not at someone else's, but at Ukrainian interests, our own Ukrainian land. We must always speak with absolute honesty. Without such warriors, there would be no Ukraine. We would not have our own independent state without families like these who raise their sons and daughters with true respect for the dignity to defend Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. And here are the images again, receiving state awards. And again, with the widow, I would imagine, and child, I would imagine, and maybe even parent. And here, widow and child. Okay, Russia's preparing for war beyond Ukraine. Now, we've been talking about that, or I've been talking about that. It was never about Ukraine. This has always been about Russia. And it's been like, while we passed that 1 million soldiers off the battlefield mark yesterday, I don't think it matters to Putin at all. I think Putin wants to just keep coming. Russia's preparing for war beyond Ukraine, already building up strategic reserves, says Deputy Foreign Minister Sabiha, citing intelligence reports. Okay, here we also see Russia could reach the borders of Romania, a NATO member, and attack other countries if Europe fails to help defend Moldova. After targeting Moldova, Moscow plans to occupy Ukrainian port city of Odessa. Now, they've been talking about that for some time, where they want to take Odessa. Odessa is a Russian city, so they say. Here it is in Euromaidan Press. The Kremlin intensified claims over Odessa in April of 2025. Patrushev, an aide to Putin, claimed that the vast majority of its residents have nothing in common with Kyiv. His statements echo earlier claims by Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov that Ukraine's government does not represent the people in the city and other southern regions. And of course, they want to take Odessa. And what they really want to do here is cut off Ukraine completely. Like this, what's in this this came out about a couple weeks ago, where they were saying, okay, so this will be what's left of Ukraine in the blue, and then this will be a buffer zone, and then this will be Russia. Well, of course they wouldn't do that. They would make all the in the pink here, they would make that green, just like Russia, and they'd be part of that. But what they really want to do is cut off all the Black Sea and cut off and take Odessa. And if you're taking Odessa and that region, you're right on the border of Romania, which is another NATO country. And of course, the Russians are just going to keep coming because that's who they are and what they do. Okay, I saw this, and this was an interesting bit that was floating around out there. Now, Greg Terry assures me this was a mistranslation, and he provided me with the actual statement that, Sabiha made. Ukraine is no longer interested in continuing negotiations with Russia if a ceasefire is not agreed upon, according to the Ukrainian foreign minister, as carried in, it was like Radio Free Europe or something, and then it was carried in other things, this Kyiv, the city of courage. Okay, here's the actual statement that he made with translation.
We need negotiations where decisions are made and issues are resolved. The last round in Istanbul was mainly about prisoner exchange. We're interested in a presidential level meeting and are ready for it. We'll see what happens next. Our main goal is to bring peace closer. The key now is to achieve a ceasefire to stop the fighting. Ukraine has shown it's never been an obstacle to achieving peace. We're committed to peaceful efforts. We welcome U.S. and Trump's efforts for a just peace this year.
So they're not walking away from peace efforts. They're actually encouraging peace efforts. They want a ceasefire. So that headline was misleading. And if you see it elsewhere, just tuck that away.
War is on our soil. Our people are suffering. Ukraine showed goodwill by holding talks in Istanbul. We were ready to discuss key issues to bring peace to Ukraine. That was our signal. Unfortunately, we saw Russia's complete inadequacy in the document they handed over. It's utterly inadequate. They haven't changed their ultimatum rhetoric. They're demanding our capitulation.
Yeah, and so that doesn't make any sense to be negotiating with that. So perhaps that's what was going on. But it's not that Ukraine is no longer interested in negotiating with Russia. If a ceasefire is not agreed upon, again, Greg assures me that this was a mistranslation or misunderstanding of what's happening. And that happens. Like this happened to me the other day. Okay. Jeffrey Sachs is talking to Tucker Carlson. He's referring to Ukraine as a reckless regime. This is only like 20 seconds long, but let's listen to it.
Desperate regimes like the Ukrainian regime will gamble the world for their own survival. It's our job to understand that American foreign policy is not to support a reckless Ukrainian regime.
Okay, so I would say that he's probably right about the facts that a desperate regime does this. But I'm looking at this thinking, at a certain point, isn't the Russian regime going to be reckless and desperate? Let's listen to it again. Just replace the word Ukraine with Russia. Listen.
Desperate regimes like the Ukrainian regime,
like the Russian regime,
will gamble the world for their own survival. It's our job to understand that American foreign policy is not to support a reckless Ukrainian regime.
Given the number of leaders.
Yeah. So isn't that interesting? I mean, I think he's right about the facts, but I don't think Ukraine is doing that. I think Russia is doing that. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm encouraged by the sight of Georgians out demonstrating. 197th consecutive day. They're still out there demonstrating because, well, they want their freedom. Okay, over to the United States. This is a congressman. This is still more of the Hegseth grilling. And I haven't shown you this before, but here's a Democratic congressman from California. And it's really profound what he has to say. Like he's trying to get him to say yes or no to, are we going to support or are we not supporting Ukraine? Listen to this.
Secretary, do you think the United States should continue supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russia, a nation that is hostile towards the United States?
Well, as you know, sir, President Trump is committed to peace.
No, I just want yes or no answers.
Today, the United States has spent billions of dollars.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Over years.
Just yes or no. Can I get a yes or no out of you?
We continue to send.
Come on.
Presidential drawdown.
It's that easy. Kindergartners can give me a yes or no. Yes or no.
Yes, we support peace in Ukraine.
Come on. Is this really leadership? You're an embarrassment to the United States. If Russia invades NATO allies, are you going to recommend to the president that we fulfill our Article 5 obligations?
Well, Russia has not invaded NATO allies.
No.
President Trump.
No. I reclaim my time. Yes or no? It's that simple.
There's Article 5 in NATO, which we recognize.
Okay, so he kind of said it.
Yes or no?
That's what Article 5 is, yes.
Good. I'm glad you brought yourself to saying yes. Do you think political allegiance to Trump is a requirement for serving our nation, either in uniform or a civilian in the department?
I'm incredibly proud, as there are millions of Americans.
No. Not today, Hegseth. Yes or no?
Congressman, you know what a silly question that is.
But silly enough to warrant a very straightforward answer. Yes or no?
We all support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
You know what?
Proud.
I'm not going to waste my time.
So he was answering the right question. We all support and defend the Constitution of the United States. In fact, Hegseth even has a Constitution of the United States tattoo printed on his arm here. So that's Yeah, at any rate, but this congressman was giving him a significantly hard time, like trying to get him to say yes or no rather than say, no, we're just for peace, which is a weasel answer. Here is a Republican, Don Bacon, who's a retired general, who was also, just listen to what he had to say.
Mr. Secretary, during your comments early on, I would say I agree with you. Homeland security, defense of the homeland is important. China is our pacing threat. I agree with that. But we never hear Russia. You didn't mention it in your comments up front. It's not just you, it's the entire administration. 2/3 of Americans see clearly that Russia is a threat, that they're the aggressor in Ukraine. It's in our national security interest that Ukraine prevails here, because Russia will not stop Ukraine. Just this week, Putin said that he would only stop the invasion of Ukraine if we pull out of the Baltic countries. I mean, this just gives you some insight to what Putin's thinking. What we see right now in the administration is some moral blindness here. We want moral clarity.
Moral blindness from the administration. I think that's fair. We're not talking about who's the aggressor and who's the victim. We're talking about, oh, we just needed to stop. No, we need some moral clarity.
We want strength when it comes to Russia. Secondly, I also share concerns about the firing of the generals. Yes.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to share with Don Bacon here. Okay, Republicans are losing patience with Trump's escalation management, term that we haven't used really since the Biden administration, but that's really what he's doing here. He's not applying the sanctions like he needs to. The key Republican senator, Grassley from Iowa, he had the West given Ukrainians what they needed earlier, they might have pushed Russia out of their country by now. I think that's pretty fair. But okay, now let's turn our attention to what's going on with Iran and Israel and Trump and that sort of thing. Donald Trump was saying, I gave Iran a chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest words, just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they anticipated, or were told that the United States makes the best and the most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, and with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They're all dead now, and it will only get worse. There's already been a great death and destruction, but there's still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal to come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there's nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. Okay, so that's what Trump tweeted out. And then there was this interesting little bit about Trump talking about Biden back in January of 2020, saying this.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. Our president.
Yeah, so that was Trump back in 2020 talking about that, but a war kicked off because he was trying to make a deal and he couldn't make a deal, and we remain committed to a diplomatic resolution to the Iran nuclear issue. My entire administration has been directed to negotiate with Iran. They could be a great country, but they first must completely give up hopes of obtaining a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Of course, Iran wasn't going to stop, especially the whole lesson of the war between Russia and Ukraine was, if you had nukes, this wouldn't happen to you. And Iran understands that, and they were trying to get a nuke before, well, and they just couldn't get it before Israel did to them what they did. Now, U.S. troops and ships are moving to the Middle East. This comes as they anticipate possible Iranian response to Israel's strike, according to AP News. Meanwhile, Trump told the Wall Street Journal that he knew about Israel's plans, saying he spoke with Netanyahu on Thursday, and he plans to speak with him again today. So now the U.S. is going to be focused on Israel and Iran, well, rather than Ukraine, or even less focused on Ukraine. Israel's military campaign tests Iran's strategic partnership with Russia, and it's potentially deprives the Kremlin of a valuable card when it comes to negotiating with Washington over Ukraine. This is really important. I can't explain just how important this is when it comes to Ukraine and Russia and the U.S.'s role in it. Now, one of the things that I think Trump was counting on was that Putin would somehow be able to intervene with Iran and get them to, come to the table. Well, that's now gone. Israel already took care of this. And now Trump doesn't have to cozy up to Putin in order to make the deal in Iran as much as he was thinking that he might have had to. And so that can change the game significantly. In response to Israel strikes, Iranian authorities just released an AI-generated video of Israel's destruction, just in case it doesn't back down. Again, I'm stressing this is all AI-generated video about what's going to happen to Israel. But like, what? I mean, AI-generated video? Okay. But for real, rocket attack alarms sound in northern Israel on the Lebanese border. I don't know at this point if this is coming from Hezbollah or if they're interested in doing this or where it is, but there's this warning. There's also other warnings. The Houthi missiles were intercepted by Israel military forces. Ballistic missiles launched at Jerusalem from Yemen, who is supported by Iran. So there's that as well going on. Now, one of the bad things here is that oil prices spiked on Friday, June 13th, by 8.8% after Israel launched its strikes. That's bad. You want lower oil prices. That hurts. That deprives Russia of revenue. And so you want that to go down. So when oil prices go up, it's very bad news because it helps Russia in Ukraine. Okay, the world feels like this. I'm going to leave you with this little image. It feels like something bad is just about to pop off. This guy is trying to unscrew that valve for whatever reason on his car, and it's just a bad idea. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like the world is like right now. And it just, yeah. All right. Well, that's all that I have, my friends. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it again. Don't. Yeah, he's gonna.